Ready?
Yep.
Oh. One day in July, Aunt Petunia took Dudley to London to buy his Smeltings uniform, leaving Harry at Mrs. Figg's. Mrs. Figg wasn't as bad as usual. It turned out she'd broken her leg tripping over one of her cats, and she didn't seem quite as fond of them as before. She let Harry watch television and gave him a bit of chocolate cake that tasted as though she had it for several years. That evening, wait, is it your turn?
No, your turn. Keep going.
That
Finish the
evening,
page.
what?
You can finish the page.
Okay. That evening, Dudley paraded around the living room for the tailcoats, orange knickerbockers, and flat straw hats called bodders.
Hold on 1 second. You skipped a line. That evening, Dudley paraded around the living room for the family in his brand new uniform. It was not making sense then. Keep going. See it?
Paraded around. That evening, Dudley paraded around the living room for the
Family.
Oh yeah, family in his brand new uniform. Smeltings boy wore maroon tailcoats, orange knickerbockers, and flat straw hats called bodders. They also carried knobbly sticks, used for hitting each other while the teachers weren't looking. This was supposed to be good training for later life. As he looked at Dudley in his new knickerbockers, Uncle Vernon said gruffly that it was the proudest moment of his life. Aunt Petunia burst into tears and said she couldn't believe it was her Ickle Dudleykins. He looked so handsome and grown up. Harry didn't trust himself to speak. He thought 2 of his ribs might already have cracked from trying not to laugh. Oh, he wanted to laugh.
So see the 3 little dots at the bottom of the page?
Yeah.
That's a page break, which means now we're going to change scenes. There was a horrible smell in the kitchen the next morning when Harry went in for breakfast. It seemed to be coming from a large metal tub in the sink. He went to have a look. The tub was full of what looked like dirty rags swimming in gray water. "What's this?" he asked Aunt Petunia. Her lips tightened, as they always did, as if he dared to ask a question. "It's your new school uniform," she said. Harry looked in the bowl again. "Oh," he said, "I didn't realize it had to be so wet." "Don't be silly," snapped Aunt Petunia. "I'm dyeing some of Dudley's old things gray for you. It'll look just like everyone else's when I'm finished." Harry seriously doubted this, but thought best not to argue. He sat down at the table and tried not to think about how he was going to look on his first day at Stonewall High, like he was wearing bits of old elephant skin, probably. Dudley and Uncle Vernon both came in, and both with wrinkled noses because of the smell from Harry's new uniform. Uncle Vernon opened his newspaper as usual, and Dudley banged his smelting stick, which he carried everywhere, on the tabletop. They heard the click of the mail slot and the flop of letters at the doormat. "Get the mail, Dudley," said Uncle Vernon from behind his paper. "Make Harry get it." "Get the mail, Harry." "Make Dudley get it." "Poke him with your smelting stick, Dudley."
Uh-oh. What's smelting stick?
The school's called Smelting, and for some reason they let all the boys carry sticks. Doesn't sound like a good idea to me. Harry dodged the smelting stick and went out to get the mail. 3 things lay at the doormat. A postcard from Uncle Vernon's sister Marge, who was vacationing on the Isle of Wight. A brown envelope that looked like a bill, and a letter for Harry. Harry picked it up and stared at it, his heart twanging like a giant elastic band. No one ever in his whole life had written to him. Who would? He had no friends, no other relatives. He didn't belong to the library, so he'd never gotten rude notes asking for the books back. Yet here it was, a letter addressed so plainly there could be no mistake. Mr. H. Potter. The covered the stairs, 4 Privet Drive, Little Winging, Surrey. The envelope was thick and heavy and made of yellowish parchment, and the address was written in emerald green ink. There was no stamp. Turning the envelope over, his hands trembling, Harry saw a purple wax seal bearing a coat of arms, a lion, an eagle, a badger, and a snake, surrounding a large letter H. "Hurry up, boy!" shouted Uncle Vernon from the kitchen. "What are you doing, checking for letter bombs?" He chuckled at his own joke. Harry went back to the kitchen, still staring at his letter. He handed Uncle Vernon the bill and the postcard, sat down, and slowly began to open his yellow envelope. Uncle Vernon ripped open the bill, snorted in disgust, flipped over the postcard. "Marge is ill," he informed Aunt Petunia. "Ate a funny whelk." "Dad," said Dudley suddenly. "Dad, Harry's got something." Harry was on the point of unfolding his letter, which was written on the same heavy parchment as the envelope, when it was jerked sharply out of his hand by Uncle Vernon. "That's mine," said Harry, trying to snatch it back. "Who'd be writing to you?" sneered Uncle Vernon, shaking the letter open with one hand and glancing at it. His face went from red to green faster than a set of traffic lights. And it didn't stop there. Within seconds, it was grayish-white old porridge. "Petunia!" he gasped. Dudley tried to grab the letter to read it, but Uncle Vernon held it high out of his reach. Aunt Petunia took it curiously and read the first line. For a moment, it looked as though she might faint. She clutched her throat and made a choking noise. "Vernon! Oh, my goodness! Vernon!" They stared at each other, seeming to have forgotten that Harry and Dudley were still in the room. Dudley wasn't used to being ignored, and he gave his father a sharp tap on the head with his smelting stick. "I want to read that letter," he said loudly. "I want to read it," said Harry furiously, "as it's mine." "Get out, both of you," croaked Uncle Vernon, stuffing the letter back inside its envelope. Harry didn't move. "I want my letter," he shouted. "Your turn."
What was the letter?
I don't know. We don't know yet. We haven't read it.
Oh, my turn?
Your turn.
"Let me see it," demanded Dudley. "Out!" roared Uncle Vernon, and he took both Harry and Dudley by their scruffs of their necks and threw them into the hall, slamming the kitchen door behind them. Harry and Dudley promptly had a furious but silent fight over who would listen at the keyhole. Dudley won, so Harry, his glasses dangling from one ear, lay flat on his stomach to listen at the crack between door and floor. "Vernon," Aunt Petunia was saying in a quivering voice, "look at the address. How could they possibly know where he sleeps? You don't think they're watching the house? Spying? Might be following us?" murmured Uncle Vernon wildly. "But what should we do, Vernon? Should we write back? Tell them we don't want?" Harry could see Uncle Vernon's shiny black shoes passing up and down the kitchen. "No," he said finally. "No, we'll ignore it. If they don't get an answer, yes, that's the best. We won't do anything. But I'm not having one in the house, Petunia. Didn't we swear when we took him in we'd stamp out that dangerous nonsense?"
That evening, when he got back from work, Uncle Vernon did something he had never done before. He visited Harry in his cupboard. "Where's my letter?" said Harry the moment Uncle Vernon had squeezed through the door. "Who's writing to me?" "No one. It was addressed to you by mistake," said Uncle Vernon shortly. "I have burned it." "It was not a mistake," said Harry angrily. "It had my cupboard on it." "Silence!" yelled Uncle Vernon, and a couple of spiders fell from the ceiling. He took a few deep breaths and then forced his face into a smile which looked quite painful. Yes, Harry. About this cupboard. Your aunt and I have been thinking. it might be nice if you moved into Dudley's second bedroom. Why? Said Harry. Don't ask questions, snapped his uncle. Take this stuff upstairs now. The Dursleys' house had 4 bedrooms, one for Uncle Vernon and Aunt Petunia, one for visitors, usually Uncle Vernon's sister Marge, one where Dudley slept, and one where Dudley kept all the toys and things that wouldn't fit into the first bedroom. It only took Harry one trip upstairs to move everything he owned from the cupboard to this room. He sat down on the bed and stared around him. Nearly everything in here was broken. The month-old video camera was lying on top of a small working tank. Dudley had once driven over the next door neighbor's dog. In the corner was Dudley's first ever television set, which he'd put his foot through when his favorite program had been canceled. There was a large bird cage, which had once held a parrot that Dudley had swapped at school for a real air rifle, which was up on the shelf with the end all bent because Dudley had sat on it. Other shelves were full of books. They were the only things in the room that looked as though they'd never been touched. From downstairs came the sound of Dudley bawling at his mother, I don't want it in there. I need that room. Make him get out. Harry sighed and stretched out on the bed. Yesterday he'd have given anything to be up here. Today he'd rather be back in his cupboard with that letter than up here without it. Your turn.
Okay. Where are you?
38 next morning after the page break.
38? I didn't know I was 38. Oh, next morning at breakfast, everyone was rather quiet. Dudley was in shock. He'd screamed, whacked his father with his smelting stick, been sick on purpose, kicked his mother, and thrown his tortoise through the greenhouse roof. And he still didn't have his room back. Harry was thinking about this time yesterday and bitterly wished he'd opened the letter in the hall. Uncle Vernon and Aunt Petunia kept looking at each other darkly. When the mail arrived, Uncle Vernon, who'd seemed to be trying to be nice to Harry, made Dudley go and get it. They heard him banging things with his smelting stick all the way down the hall. Then he shouted, There's another one! Mr. H. Potter, the small S bedroom, 4 Privet Drive. Wait, what? I don't understand what's going on.
Dudley went to get the mail. He's saying there's another letter in the mail. This one's addressed to Mr. H. Potter, the smallest bedroom, 4 Privet Drive. So he got another letter the next day.
And they still know where his second room is?
Yeah, they know exactly where he is, yeah.
I think they must be a ghost.
Yeah.
With a strangled cry, Uncle Vernon leapt from his and ran to the hall. Harry right behind him. Uncle Vernon had to wrestle Dudley to the ground to get the letter from him, which was made difficult by the fact that Harry had grabbed Uncle Vernon around the neck from behind. After a minute of confused fighting, in which everyone got hit a lot by the smelting stick, Uncle Vernon strained up, gasping for breath, with Harry's letter clutched in his hand. Go to your your bedroom, he wheezed at Harry. Dudley, go, just go. Harry walked round and round in his new bedroom. Someone knew he had moved out of his cupboard, and they seemed to know he hadn't received his first letter. Surely that they meant they'd try again. And this time he'd make sure they didn't fail. He had a plan.
The repaired alarm clock rang at 6 o'clock the next morning. Harry turned it off quickly and dressed silently. He mustn't wake the Dursleys. He stole downstairs without turning on any lights, He was going to wait for the postman on the corner of Privet Drive and get the letters for number 4 first. His heart hammered as he crept across the dark hall toward the front door. Ah! Harry leapt into the air. He'd trodden on something big and squashy on the doormat. Something alive. Light clicked on upstairs, and to his horror, Harry realized that the big squashy something that had been his uncle's face. Uncle Vernon had been lying at the foot of the front door in his sleeping bag, clearly making sure that Harry didn't do exactly what he'd been trying to do. He shouted at Harry for half an hour, and then told him to go and make a cup of tea. Harry shuffled miserably off into the kitchen, and by the time he got back, the mail had arrived right into Uncle Vernon's lap. Harry could see 3 letters addressed in green ink. "I want," he began, but Uncle Vernon was tearing the letters into pieces before his eyes. Uncle Vernon didn't go to work that day. He stayed at home and nailed up the mail slot. "See," he explained to Aunt Petunia.
What happened?
"If they can't deliver them, they'll just
Daddy,
give them."
what happened? Why did Uncle Vernon be sleeping in his sleeping bag in front of the door?
To be sure, Harry didn't go outside and try to get the mail.
I thought, why did he do that?
He doesn't want Harry to get that letter.
What?
We don't know because it's important. We just don't know what it is. So 3 new letters came, and he tore them all up as he lay there in his sleeping bag. And he stayed home all day and nailed up the mail slot. "See," he said to Aunt Petunia through a mouthful of nails, "if they can't deliver them, they'll just give up." "I'm not sure that'll work, Vernon." "Oh, these people's minds work in strange ways, Petunia. They're not like you and me," said Uncle Vernon, trying to knock in a nail with a piece of fruitcake Aunt Petunia had just brought him. On Friday, no less than 12 letters arrived for Harry. And as they couldn't go through the mail slot, they had been pushed under the door, slotted through the sides, and even forced through the small window in the downstairs bathroom. Uncle Vernon stayed at home again, and after burning all the letters, he got out a hammer and nails and boarded up the cracks around the front and back doors so no one could go out. He hummed Tiptoe Through the Tulips as he worked. Jumped and he jumped at small noises. Your turn.
On Saturday, things began to get out of hand. 24 letters to Harry found their way into the house, rolled up and hidden inside each of the 24 eggs that their very confused milkman had handed Aunt Petunia through the living room window. While Uncle Vernon made furious telephone calls to the post office and the dairy trying to find someone to complain to. Aunt Petunia shredded the letters in her food processor, who on earth wants to talk to you this badly? Dudley asked Harry in amazement. One Sunday morning. Oh, is it your turn?
Sure, you can read it if you want to.
You can have your turn.
On Sunday morning,
Mama,